G'day everybody, just out in the garage again. Miserable Melbourne weekend, rain, hail, you name it. It's freezing cold. So yeah, no skydiving again, which is absolutely killing me, but not literally. So yeah, outside working on the bike. Not much on the trail bike today. So we'll make this video about the Hunter, and I'll somehow mix it in with the XR100 project, and I'll explain why. But anyway, had some good news this week. I might have mentioned in a previous video, I'm not sure, because I've sort of done a little bit of video shuffling on YouTube and sort of deleted and tried to edit. Tried to edit, and I had like this big blank spot like 30 minutes into one video, and I had no idea how I got there. So I had to sort of like do some cut and paste and stuff. So anyway, I think I cut everything out of that blank spot that was supposed to have things to do with the Hunter in it, in that section. So anyway, what happened is I went and bought, I had to buy new brake lines, as you know, because the mechanic passed them and it stripped all the plastic off the lines and da. So $280 later, with a second-hand brake master cylinder, I've got a braking system. But it turns out that the brake master cylinder won't pressurize, so I have to order a new one. So the guys down at a local Hunter dealer ordered me in a new brake master cylinder, which is great. At the same time, I took that front wheel down, because although I thought I'd fixed the problem with the tyre going down by replacing the valve stem, it turns out it wasn't the valve stem after all. Although the one that was in it wasn't the best, it did have a slight leak, it was loose. Turns out that the tube was pinched by the original mechanic that did the roadworthy. Fucking put a hole in it. So I had the guys fix that, put a new tube in it, fix that. So now I have a braking system that works. I have a tyre that stays up. But as I might have mentioned in some previous videos, when I've spoken about the Hunter, one of the throttle cables was broken in 5 places, and I needed to replace that. So I started taking that apart so I could go down and match them up, and get a new one. Well, in the process, I needed to actually remove the cable from the throttle assembly here on the carby, and the threaded bolt on this one just snapped off. I've got it up here somewhere, as you can see. It snapped. Nothing else wrong with this cable. This was a good cable, but it didn't lead me enough to be able to stick this inside the clamp or the bracket that it's got to go into. So it's cost me now for 2 throttle cables, but that was alright. The guys looked after me. 35 bucks for the pair, brand spanking new, still in the packaging. So very, very happy, very grateful, and that the guys have been really looking after me down there. Yeah, so yeah, anyway, I had some hand grips turn up this week that I ordered off eBay, $20 delivered. Nothing flash. Like I said, on this bike, I want it to look nice, but it's not going to be like a $20,000 Harley chopper or anything. It's got to look nice. It's got to look decent. So I picked up these hand grips. They're all aluminium construction, rubberized, and it came with, depending on what throttle setup your bike had, if it had a single cable or double cable, it came with in a nice box too. So, you know, I thought for $20 the quality's not going to be great on them. The quality's fantastic on them. They're really, really nice grips. But, you know, it came with all these extra bits and pieces, and this one here I actually fitted up first and realised it wasn't the right one, but you got this one for a single throttle cable setup, and there's a spacer here, like a backing spacer. Turns out I didn't need that. I did fit it at first with this, but it didn't work for me. So yeah, cost $20 off eBay. Fastest delivery I've ever had on anything in Melbourne. I think it like took a day. Absolutely wrapped. So I've got a nice set of grips on there. As I said, nothing flashy, but it's good in that respect because it draws away from here and draws your eye to the mirrors, which are sort of, you know, the focal point. You know, I really like those Grim Reaper sickle type mirror stems. So that's what I wanted people to see rather than the hand grips. Now the only problem I had with these, they do fasten in with 2 grub screws for this one. Throttle's obviously different. It mounts sort of inside the housing. But the only problem I had was these end caps, original Hunter end caps. I'll just get them off. As you can see, the handlebars are actually threaded on the Hunter, and these are the original Hunter end caps, which could do with a good clean. They go on with a left-hand thread, and on this side I've got to be really, really careful, because if you tighten it up too much against the hand grip, the throttle sticks. So as you can see, if I back that off, it releases. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put, it doesn't matter what I put on there, I can put some Teflon tape on there, I can put just a little bit of silicone. I don't want to use Loctite, because if I've got to break the seal on this with Loctite, that means I'm going to have to get some Stilsons or some sort of vice grips on there, which means it's going to mark the chrome. I'd rather put some silicone on there, because silicone, you can easily break that with the force of your hand, or some Teflon tape. I'm going to put some Teflon tape. You can use some Teflon tape on that thread, and I'm going to set it to where it's got nice sort of return, and then and then obviously I've got to put the screws back in here. But the only problem is, because these aren't screwed home fully, the 20mm long screws that went in there don't quite reach the end of the handlebar. So my dad popped down today, and he's going to go to the local bolt place, and he's going to pick up 2 slightly longer screws, or bolts, whatever you want to call them, for the ends of the handlebars. You'll get them. I told him to get them in stainless steel. They don't sell chrome for a start. Chrome's sort of, you know, special order thing, or, you know, if you buy the setup, it comes with them. It's done in the factory, but most bolt places don't keep chrome bolts. Stainless is the best you can, you know, they'll do. So I'm going to, just put some stainless ones in the end there, 30mm ones. So that takes care of my throttle and hand grip problem. So I've got a new braking system on it, basically a new braking system on it. The only thing that hasn't been replaced are the calipers. I've got new throttle cables all round. I still have to just do some little tweaks here and tighten some of this up. I've just done the carby end before I started filming, but as you know, I always do the work first and then film afterwards. So I thought, you know, you got to sort of break that habit and show things in the process. And so yeah, I realised I hadn't tightened these up yet, so I've still got to tighten these up. Took a little bit of playing around just to get the right adjustment on these, so that would return, because one of these cables is actually a return line, and the other one is actually the main throttle one. So one's a recoil and one's a throttle one. But it turned out that it worked when they were fully adjusted down on both cables, and that was just a matter of turning the nut until I saw that throttle sort of kick back, and then I knew I was in the right spot. One of the other things I got this week is I ended up buying that bobber rear fender off the guys down there for $120, which was a lot cheaper than buying, say, an aftermarket Harley Davidson one or a Universal one, which retail for about $256. So I'm in the process of stripping it down now with some paint stripper. It was, as you can see, it was black with red and white pinstripes. So yeah, I'm in the process of getting all this stripped down to go on the bike. I ordered a new number plate holder, nice billet aluminium one, which will come off. It comes off the side here somehow. I think it just tucks in behind the axle bolt. Comes off the side. It's got the built-in tail light, and it's got the built-in number plate light in it. Very nice looking thing. Only I find out from the local Hunter dealer that they are now illegal. So it's one of the things. I'm gonna run it, you know. And if I get pulled over, well, I'll have the Spyder rear end ready to bolt back on. I'm gonna, with all the wire, I'm gonna leave these indicators on here as part of the Spyder rear end. I think I might have mentioned that I had trouble with the first lot of indicators that I ordered. The guy, the seller, sent me smoked lenses. So what I'm going to do is, well, if the number plate's illegal, stuff it. We're going to put the illegal indicators on too. So the wiring loom here, I will cut it. I can't pull it out to show you guys, but trust me, it's up there. There's Mr. Mechanic's bodgy work. Didn't put it through the fender and up under, so that's actually hitting the wheel at the moment, hitting the tire. I'm going to put this this cable, this loom, into some connectors, and then obviously the loom that comes from the main loom that these plug into, I'll put the same connectors on that, and then this spare set of indicators that I got inside with the tinted lenses, I'll do the same on that. So everything will just be clip in. It'll be nice and quick. So if I get pulled up, I'll turn around to the copper and say, I'll see you in an hour. He'll be like, what? I'll just come home and just unbolt the fender and just put this whole assembly back on. 2 bolts, you know, that's holding that whole rear end in. And I just got to clip in the one plug for the tail light and the indicators, and then it's roadworthy again. Then come home and unbolt it and bolt the bobber rear end back on. So yeah, the bike's coming along. I'm starting to make some progress on it now. My dad gave me a hand to bleed up the brake system today. Now we tried to do it the old-fashioned way. I had my little bleeder bottle and everything that I would normally use. We started out with that, and I said to him, no, we'll get the machine with compressed air. We'll do it that way. So I got him on the foot pedal, pump until build up some pressure, fired the compressor up, hit the trigger, open the bleeder valve, and we started to actually get some compression or some pressure in the system. So I told Dad to keep an eye on the little window on the side of it where the level is. Dad's 80 years old, his eyesight's not good. He let the level drop too far, and then all of a sudden we had no pressure. And I said, how's the levels? And he said, oh, I don't know, I can't see it. And I said, yeah, because you let it drop below the window, that's why you can't see it. So I took the top off, and yeah, the reservoir was dry, so we put more fluid in it, but there must have been enough fluid in the lines that the lines were solid with fluid all the way through. And yeah, I just got him to like multiple pump it again until it built up pressure. I opened the valve, the bleeder nipple 2 more times, made sure the reservoir didn't run low, and I got back brakes now. So finally got back brakes, working on it. I've got some new exhaust mufflers coming this week. They're only I know you can get they're straight ones with the angled rear end on them. I know you can get 24 inch or 20. I'm not sure how they. No, it wouldn't be 24 inch, but it would be. I'm not sure how they class the opening or the angle, but rather than give you inches and centimeters or millimeters or whatever, it's the ones I've ordered are 20, and I know you can get up to a 24, which just means that the pipe is bigger. It's just bigger, but they're more expensive, and I think I've picked up the two pipes with 3 different crutch sleeve bands that range from 36mm up to 42, which is perfect for my engine pipe. Delivered for $132. So I can get rid of these ugly looking things, because I've never liked the shape of these. These are more for like a sports bike rather than a cruiser. So got my new pipes coming this week, and I'm not sure. Not that it's a biggie, but I've ordered out of Hong Kong or China. I ordered 5 of these bleeder nipple caps for $1.39 delivered. Don't know how they do it, but yeah. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to order a set for all the cars as well. I should have done it all at the one time, but it's free delivery, so I'm not going to save anything. So the old coupe here will get a set put on it, and the Chevy will get a set put on it, and I'll buy a set for the Studebaker as well. And obviously the bike, this bike will have it. That bike doesn't need it because it's drum brake. And yeah, so a few little scores this week, and yeah, it's just nice to see the bike getting back, getting back to a roadworthy condition, or at least a rideable condition. Because as I said, I've owned this bike 3 months now. I've done 70. So I'll tell you exactly what I've done. I've done 79 kilometers, but I reckon a majority of that has been at least 10 kilometers of it's been pushing this thing back and forth in the garage, up the driveway, trying to test ride it, trying to see if the brakes would work. But it hasn't left. It's only done like 69 road kilometers, and I swear, like, every time you push this thing, the little gear goes around in the front wheel, so it just keeps clocking up pushable kilometers, not rideable kilometers. I got an issue with the headlight again. I did tell the mechanic about the issue. I've got no headlight again. I've got high beam and I've got a Parker. I've got no headlight, so he never fixed the electrical fault in it. He put a new globe in it. It worked. It worked when I got it back, and then the next time I went to test the light, which was when I straightened up all the glass and tightened up the bezel and everything, it didn't work anymore. So there's obviously a fault in there that he didn't fix. He knew about it. He was told about it, and so yeah, now I've got to screw around with the headlight and try and find out why it keeps blowing. The globe might not even be blown. It might be just that it could be a fault with the switch. Could be a fault. There's 2 switches. There's the switch here, and then you got your other switch here. So, but yeah, it doesn't matter what combination you use. You can't get a headlight. You get the high beam, but you can't get the headlight working. So that's another one. I'm eventually going to name this mechanic, and I'm going to name the inspector from Vic Roads who inspected the bike, and I'm going to put it on YouTube, because I think what they've done is totally wrong. And I might even name the previous owner, because he did the wrong thing too. And yeah, I'm going to out him. The mechanic had done his job right, I wouldn't have to mention his name. If the inspector had have actually listened to the story of how things went from the word go, and not just looked at the original photographs on that day that the mechanic wrote the roadworthy out, because he saw this bike with saddlebags on the back and a backrest for a pillion seat that didn't exist, but they had to be removed so he could fit the indicators, and the saddlebags were only tied on with one strand of leather twine to the backrest, and it was the Hunter dealer actually told him to remove it when they did the initial inspection. They said either fasten them on properly or remove them. So as a safety issue, before I rode the bike home from the previous owner's house, I cut that twine in his driveway and I threw those saddlebags into the back of my sister's car for safety. So it didn't matter at what time those saddlebags came off. They had to come off to fit the indicators, otherwise the saddlebags would have hung over the indicators like that. So God knows, you know, the inspector didn't listen to the story. He didn't take into account that the bike had been in the mechanic's shop twice, and that obviously the bike would look different because things had to be removed in order to fix the unroadworthy things and put things on like indicators, because the ones in the tail light aren't accepted as roadworthy. But he didn't pick up on the fact that the mechanic didn't fit up rear reflectors, and that they are stated in the ADRs as being a requirement on a bike. This is a non-reflective tail light, so there should have been reflectors there, but he didn't even say anything about that, and he didn't say nothing about the front ones missing. But yet he turned around and he tried to accuse me of modifying the bike. It's like, I didn't modify the bike. I took the saddlebags off because they were unsafe, because the mechanic didn't do his job properly, and also because they would have covered the indicators. Simple as that. Would have covered the indicators. The saddlebags were not made for this bike. They come off something else. There was some aftermarket thing he probably ordered on eBay out of China or Hong Kong, and there were no attachment points on the Hunter frame to fasten these things on properly, so he's just slung it over the back, bought a backrest, tied it on with one strand, and as I probably mentioned before, the saddlebags were hitting on the tyre here, and it actually wore a hole in the back of the saddlebag. So that if the inspector wants somebody to ride a bike in that type of condition, with the possibility of that saddlebag getting jammed up in the back wheel, locking the back wheel up and then flipping the rider over the handlebars, you know, I don't know how they gave him a license to inspect. I really don't. The man just didn't do his job properly. Tried to blame me, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, he can go get fucked. And when I name him, if he wants to sue me, he can go ahead and sue me, and then I'll counter-sue him. I'll counter-sue him for not doing his job properly, for not investigating things properly, and for coming to the understanding of why modifications were made to the bike when it went back the second time. He didn't look at any of that. He just didn't take any of my photos, didn't take any of my hours of video footage. But yeah, looked at those first lot of photos which showed the bike with saddlebags and a backrest on it. So yeah, you can tell I'm still angry. I'm fucking pissed. But yeah, I'm getting there now. I spent a bit of money on it in the last couple of weeks. I don't even want to try and work out now in my head what I spent, but I needed the stuff, and we're getting there. So now that the bike is getting to a rideable stage, I won't be riding it any time in the next week simply because of the weather, and I've got to obviously get them screws, otherwise they will vibrate loose and fall off when I'm riding the bike. I've got no front fender on it at the moment because it's all stripped back into bare metal. I could ride it on a dry day and get away without the fender, but on a wet day, nah, I'm not going to be riding it on a wet day. So the bike's still going to be sitting in here for another week. All my other little bits and pieces will turn up for this this bobber rear end during the week, so I'll spend this week just putting it all together, and then what I'll do is I'll take it down to the blokes at the Hunter dealer, and I'm going to let them have a crack at those carbies and try and work out why I've got sort of like a slight backfire. But yeah, I want to get all the exhausts and everything, the new exhausts or mufflers fitted up first, so that when they're tinkering with the carby, they tune the bike to what's on the bike. I don't want to take it down with these mufflers on it. They tune the carbies up, they clean the carbies out, and then I go change the mufflers, and back pressure's changed on the exhaust system and all this and that. So yeah, I want to get everything together before I take it down there, and yeah, I definitely know that the guys down there are probably, they're telling me the truth in regards to there being shit in the carbies. They probably need a good clean out. Could I do it? Yeah, I could probably do it. You know what? I'm just sick of it. At the moment, I'm sick of the bike. And there's nothing to it, like there's two nuts here, there's two nuts on the other side, and there's this this clamp, and the whole carby comes off. There's nothing to it, but I don't want to tinker with it. I'd rather the guys that know the machine play with it, because if I get it wrong, I just got to keep persisting with it, and in the end it'll probably mean that I've got to end up taking it into them anyway, because I can't get it right. But at least if they don't get it right, I can take it back, and then they've got to fix it for nothing. So that's what I'll do. It doesn't need a service. It had a service on the 28th of January this year, so oil's still good and everything's still good on it. Although it has done, I noticed that it had done probably about I'm guessing about 4,000 kilometres from February up until the time I bought it. So he'd ridden it a lot. So who knows? Like, I can dump the oil on it, there's no issue there. And when the guys do the carby, I'll just get them to sort of pop the top off here and have it. I think it's, I'm not sure exactly yet, but these are obviously the plug wires, so I think you'd actually unbolt them from here, wouldn't unbolt it from there. That's the main head bolts, and that'll expose the spark plugs. I'll get them just to go over the spark plugs. They might need a clean, or they might need replacing or regapping. I'll just get them to get it running good again, and we'll keep it good. So yeah, there'll be a few little things that I'll buy over the next couple of weeks, as I've probably mentioned in a previous video. Got to get a couple of new hose clamps here. These are rusted, so I'm going to get some of those, not so much not this type, but they're sort of more of a heavy duty type clamp, and rather than actually use these notches in the band, they actually have how can I explain it? They have, like, I can't even explain it on here. Like, they have like two threaded tubes with two tubes with the holes drilled through the sides of them, and the bolt goes through there and you tighten it up, and yeah, well, you see it when I buy it. Half of you probably know what I'm talking about, but they're like super heavy duty hose clamps that you would use for industrial things. I know there's a special name for them, but it's gone. I don't know what it is. So yeah, when I take the this rear fender off in the next couple of days to trial fit all that up, I'll unbolt the seat as well, because I'll have good access to the nuts once that guard's off. And I'm going to make the plate up, the block off plate for here. Now I can do it out of two types of material. I've got that piece of alloy plate here. It's all scratched up. That's the back side, that's the front side. I can do it out of that. Now, as we all know, aluminium's a pain in the ass to keep clean, but what I'll do is I'll clear it. I'll put some clear on it. The other stuff I've got, which would look absolutely magnificent, if I can find it, I know it's probably a bit dark here, is I've got this stainless steel, which is what has been left over from the firewall on my Chevy. Now I should have enough here to do the firewall on the Studebaker. And I've just sort of blocked myself in here, guys. Hang on, I've got to get myself out now. Yeah, so I can do it either out of alloy and clear it, or I can do it out of stainless steel. The only thing I don't like about stainless steel is that it's hard to cut. I don't have a guillotine, and yeah, chances to cutting it with tin snips is almost impossible. I can get a stainless steel blade for the grinder, I guess, but I don't want that burnt look, that bluey burnt look like what you get on exhausts from overheating. So I'm probably, if I do it, I'm probably going to have to use so you don't want that yellowy blue stuff to come through onto the edges of it, because you'll see it being right there. So if I do use a grinder, I'm going to have to keep everything cool. I'm going to have probably the air compressor running, or a wet rag or something sitting on top of it when I cut it, unless anybody else has got some suggestions. That'd be great. Send them through in the comments and let me know. But with alloy plate, it's easy. You just use, you can cut it with a grinder, as I did with this, and you just smooth the edge off with a file. It comes up really nice. Like, it's a nice grain, nice finish. But we'll see. The stainless steel would go well there with the chrome, but more than what the alloy plate would. But yeah, we'll see. And I also have to leave or drill access holes into the plate, because I've got to be able to get into these screws here. Got to be able to get into these screws. But I'm guessing if I put the plate on, it'll definitely get sandwiched under these back springs. But I'm not sure how it's going to fasten in here at the front. It's got to be cut around that bracket there, but I'm not sure how it would get fastened to the front of the frame. Whether I just get some nice little like run it up underneath the tank here a little bit, and then just unbolt the tank, lift the tank up, and put some nice little stainless steel self tappers into the frame. That might be the way to do it, because then the front edge of the plate will be hidden, the screws will be hidden, and these back bolts will hold the plate in place anyway. So yeah, the only thing that might get in the way is, you can see where my finger is here, there's like a plate, there's two of them. Don't know exactly what they hold on behind, what they're holding in place behind there. But when I'm sitting the plate across here, I'm hoping that where they've welded it to the top of the frame here doesn't get in the way. I don't really want to go grinding original factory welds, but you know, we'll deal with it when the time comes. Now there's nothing on the other side on the top to force the plate to sit up at all. That's nice and smooth across there, so we shouldn't have any issues with that. So yeah, we'll just deal with it as we come to it. But I just wanted to sort of give you a bit of an update on where we're at with the Hunter, and I'm sure by the end of the week I'll have a little bit more to report, and you'll see a bit of a change in the look of the bike, and yeah, and it's always good for me to go back and look at the way the bike was and what I've ended up with. So that's sort of why I do these videos. As I said, I use YouTube as like a library for storing all my vids, so it's not on my hard drive. So yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Cheers. I finished sanding the bobber rear guard. So very surprised to find that there was some body filler in it. From the looks of it, it was an original paint job, definitely. Because I know you can't buy the striping, and the striping was actually a decal, a sticker. So I think out of the factory, when they've formed these, they've had some rough spots on the corners. It seems to be just on the corners here. And turn around. We're lucky we don't have a corner on this side, but as you can see here, little dimples. So I think it's factory filler. I think I've sanded it down better than what they did, to be honest. I used a 3rd sheet sander on it, so it's nice and flat. So it wasn't going to take any more off than it needed to, like being on a flat surface. So yeah, I can get this fitted up sometime this week when the number plate mount slash brake light slash number plate light turns up, and once I know it's all mounted and it fits well, and I'll take them off and I'll go down and see me mate Mick, and we'll get to paint it up. But yeah, it's come up alright. Very heavy gauge steel, surprising for a Chinese bike, but you know, they haven't skimped. They definitely haven't skimped on the thickness of the steel. It's heavy duty. I'd consider it as heavy duty. It's not something flimsy. But yeah, a little bit disappointed in their forming here, because it just seems to be an issue on each corner. Just in that bottom portion. There's nothing really around the rest of it or over the top. It's all nice. So yeah, that's good. So yeah, we've got the bike looking good now. Turn these lights on. So you know, it's getting there now. Once the fenders are fitted up, painted and fitted up, the bike's going to look great. I'm happy with the way it's coming along. I'm going to do a little job on the back with the rear sprocket. I'm not really worried about like takeoff speed. I don't want the bike to be quick. I want the bike to have legs, because I intend to do a lot of highway cruising on it, and I don't want it screaming on the highway. And I've noticed that the one time that I did take it on to the freeway, it was 100 km/h freeway. You know, it didn't have the legs. It just sounded like it was revving. Like the speedo on this only goes up to 140, being a, I don't know if you can see that, 140 km/h speedo, or roughly 90 mph. Yeah, it's a 250, so you know, but you can buy different front and rear sprockets for it. So I'm going to get this geared up for highway rather than for suburbia, even though I'm going to, you know, in the summertime I'll ride this to work every day if I can, but I'd rather it be highway geared than quick takeoff and then it screams on the highway. So yeah, so that's good. At least the sprockets are available for the bike, and I won't struggle with it. Just done a little bit of a wipe down of things like the rims and because you know, the rims were always a concern, you know, with them, the chrome starting to peel off, and when I take the fender off and I've got a little bit more access to the rim, I'm gonna see if I can clean that back rim up a little bit better than it is. The front one, it's not too bad. It's showing signs of corrosion, yes, but the back one, I think I can get it a little bit better. I can clean a little bit of stuff up on that, and maybe just as I did with the trail bike back rim, just clear it. You know, that's a good acrylic clear lacquer. It leaves no trace that it's even on there. It doesn't leave like a yellow film or anything. It's crystal clear. So yeah, I'll try and clean these rims up the best I can, and I'll hit them with the clear, and hopefully, you know, that'll help prevent any more corrosion. But yeah, it's getting, now we're getting to the exciting bit, where she'll, you know, another week or two she'll be back on the road, and and then unfortunately I've got the registration to pay in August. So yeah, all those months that I should have been riding it and getting my money's worth out of my registration and insurance, and the bike's been laid up. So yeah, what can you do? You know, some people are just real bastards in the world, and I happened to buy a bike off a real bastard who then, yeah, had a real bastard work on it, and then had a real bastard investigator come out and not do his job properly. So yeah, I've been stung the whole way except for the Hunter dealer. So I highly recommend them. I don't want to mention their name because I haven't asked permission. So, but I can tell you they're in Settlement Road, Thomastown. I think it's John and his brother Con that run the place. Very nice blokes. You sometimes don't know how to take them. Very serious pair, those two. But they know their stuff. They know their stuff, and they're very fair. You know, they haven't really made any money off me, to be honest. They've been really good, really good. So they're more about the rider and the bike, and keeping the bikes on the road, and as long as they cover their costs and make a little bit, they're happy. They're not going to sting you for stuff you don't need. They'll make suggestions, and this is what John actually told me. He said, mate, there'll be times when you go and do things to your bike, and we'll tell you what we think about it. He said, but it's your bike, you can do what you want, but we're just giving you advice. We'll tell you what's roadworthy, what's not roadworthy, before you go out and spend money on things like rear number plate holders, like I just bought. But you know, they're very, very honest, very, very blunt. But you know what you're getting with the two of them, and I appreciate that. You know, there's no screwing you around, no saying, oh, the job's, you know, quoting you $100 for the job, and then you turn up to pick the bike up and they go, oh, well, you know, it's $160. We had to do this and this and this. They're pretty good. So, you know, any of you guys that want to know who the Hunter dealer is in Victoria, type it in, Settlement Road, Thomastown, and you'll find the name. You'll find the name. At least that way I advertising them without their permission. So yeah, go down and pay the boys a visit if you need something. They do more than Hunter stuff. They do everything from Hondas to you name it, Harley Davidsons. Their shop's full. So they get a lot of business. They've obviously got some not good clientele. They keep coming back to get their bikes serviced and get modifications done and things like that. And yeah, and they'll look after you. They will look after you. So yeah, little bit of promotion for the guys down there. I'm going to leave it here because I've rambled on for too long already. And yeah, I'll film something else during the week and get it up on YouTube for you guys. Cheers.